Mocha
amazing.
pots.
Looks nice.
Amazing. They're like perfect. We had to be taught how to use one because they're a little more complicated, but not too hard.
Oh,
Feeling
published. Yeah. And
Running straight through you, brother.
we're live.
Hey yo.
Oh, hello.
Pour
Hello.
pour yourself a glass of champagne.
And I
Join us around the
Come on
table.
in.
did. Cheers, mates. Cheers, me.
Get my coffee in there.
Hell yeah.
Clink it, dink it,
Welcome.
and sink it, as our friends Rhett and Link would say.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Infinite Variety Show.
Hey-o.
I'm Cameron, and I'm joined here as always by Evan to my left, Eddie across from him, and across from me is a beautiful boy we all know and love,
Good
named
Lord.
Ronnie.
Package
Hello.
boys here on time for once.
That's
Well,
right.
listen, I actually have to start by talking about a goof I made last week.
Uh-oh.
I can't remember if I said it, but I told you guys at least, and I think I said it on the stream, that we were going to get a caller, our first caller ever.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But it didn't happen. So my friend who's going to call in this week, hopefully around 8 p.m., had some scheduling problems last week and wasn't able to call in. But we made it through the show. But we're going to call him in and talk about a real exciting topic after we hear a little story he has to tell, all right?
Mm-hmm.
How's everybody's week been so far?
So good.
Pretty laid back.
Ronnie, you had the day
Yeah.
off today.
I had today off. Saw a movie and
What'd you
just
see?
took it
Oh.
easy. The Sisters Brothers.
Oh.
It takes place.
Was it good?
It takes place in Oregon, 1851. It was pretty good. It had some slow parts, but I think just the fact that it took place in Oregon and some of the towns that were listed. I think.
Sisters?
Well, Sisters actually wasn't, but
Weird.
you're assuming that's where they're from.
Yeah.
And but there was Myrtle Creek. That's kind of in my where I grew up around.
I've heard
Oh.
of that. I know
And
of
I
it.
think Jacksonville.
Oh, Jacksonville.
That's
this-
close to where
is
you
this-
grew up,
is
right?
this
My,
Oregon?
my,
Is
my.
this
I love
Oregon?
Jacksonville.
What's that?
Is this Oregon?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oregon. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Has
Cool.
Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly?
Yeah, and,
Oh,
and Jake
nice.
Gyllenhaal
I
too.
would like to see
Yeah.
that.
Ooh.
I've been in Seattle all week. It's good to be back. I got into town about 3 p.m. today.
What were you doing there?
Just some work in some of our stores. Yeah, some long needed work. But anyway, let's jump right in.
Move it along.
Do you guys, speaking of living in Oregon, we kind of live in this constant threat of the big one, right? Like a big earthquake or natural disaster. Or even, I got kind of spooked a few years ago about like an attack. Is that an alarm?
I'm updating the podcast thing.
Oh, indeed.
I don't think it's mine. Hope it's not.
Sounds like mine.
Uh-oh.
Well, never mind. Car alarm shut off.
It might not
Wow,
be a good
talking
sign.
about being spooked, my gosh. Anyway, a few years ago, I was like spooked because of like Kim Jong Un was acting up and like Russia was acting
Oh,
up,
spooky.
and living in the South is a different vibe than living in on the West Coast because like we're within reach. And so I had a little bit of a phase, right? So I have some extra things laying around. I wouldn't call myself a prepper, but I have some extra stuff. Do you guys ever think about what you would do in the case
He's a
of
prepper.
a utter calamity?
He's a prepper. We all know.
I'm not a prepper. I wouldn't call.
He's a prepper.
I'm a
Let's be real.
junior prepper.
Junior prepper.
But does that ever cross you guys' mind at all?
No.
No.
Actually, no.
I said because yes. I mean, it does cross my mind.
You would probably
absolutely.
try to make it to Vancouver to be with your parents, right?
Well, family would be probably the first
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be joining family, but I have two families now, technically.
True.
So
True.
yeah, it
Well-
would be more complicated than that.
Well, maybe you put some thought in it, maybe you haven't. But here's a for real question. Using those skills you'd have to use in a calamity. If you have them, if you don't. If you had to choose one place to be stranded and survive indefinitely, where would that be? And additionally, what would be the one item you'd want to have with you?
Double jeopardy.
If you never thought about this before, it might be a little bit of a tough question, so I apologize if it catches you by surprise, but you got to have some.
It's one thing to have.
You get to take one thing and pick a location. Where would you want to be stranded? So, the temperatures couldn't be too cold or hot. You'd have to have access to water, maybe some animals to get you by, maybe some roots and tubers and leaves. I don't know. Wait, Evan, wasn't this your question?
Yeah.
Why don't you answer it? Did you think about an answer to your own question?
Yeah, I've thought about this for sure.
Where would you want to be stranded?
For sure. Well, I'd want to be stranded most likely somewhere in Washington in a deep forested area near water.
Okay.
So that I think I would be, because I'm already familiar with it. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be too far off to go there and try to survive. And I think that the one thing that I would bring with me would be a water filter, some sort of water filter.
Okay.
I think that would, if I had to have one item, because water has to be clean. Because if you drink bad water and it puts you out, then you can't find food.
Yeah.
I mean, so that would be my first go-to. Would be like a water filter of some kind.
Right.
All right.
In Washington, in a place that I'm slightly familiar with. I mean, it doesn't have to be my hometown. It would be like out in the woods somewhere.
Washington.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Ronnie, what about you? Where do you think you'd like to be?
Well, does it have to be like outdoors, or can it be
No.
in the city?
No. It could be anywhere.
Well, probably maybe here, just where I am, because that's the like community I have.
Okay,
and also, people are like tools. People are tools.
People are tools.
Can I try to, so you
People
bring
in general are
someone-
just tools. That's what I'm trying to
you
say.
Bring someone, the biggest
Gotcha.
tool you know. Okay, to clarify.
It's a multi-purpose.
That's
to
me.
clarify. So,
That's me.
so it's technically like, it doesn't have to be this, but it's the end of the world. Climate change has happened. It's changed everything.
Yeah.
We're running for survival.
Well, now
We're
we're
finding a
adding
place.
things onto it. That
Okay.
wasn't part of the original question.
But this is like, we're talking a calamity, right? So this is something that
Well,
you're
that
going to
was
have
the
to
last
survive
thing.
there.
Okay, we'll add that
run it.
contingency in. We'll add that
let's-
contingency in.
I agree.
Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
So,
I like that.
in
Let's
case
agree
of
with
calamity, now Ronnie, let me just poop on that idea for a minute.
that. Ronnie's having a
Let
hard
him just
time.
take a little poopy
Poop.
on it.
Poop on it.
In the case of
Just a little
in the
one.
case of calamity,
Yeah.
natural or
Little
man-made,
poopy.
whatever, take it how you want it. I think a city would be a real scary place to be.
It could be.
No doubt.
True.
I think
Real
it could
scary.
be, but I think there's also a good chance that you can rally your community together and have some stable, functioning forces trying to combat the chaos that's going around.
Okay.
So if you have a community where your neighbors, you could probably rely on them and like, hey, let's get a game plan. And I feel like that's much safer than trying to, especially if you don't have the skills to endure wildlife. You know, it might be smarter for like not everybody to just go out in the woods, because not everybody would make it out alive.
You'd
you know,
be a hero. It sounds like
I
you'd
also-
be like the guy rallying people. Like, come together.
I feel like you give people too much credit though, and assume that they're going to
that's
be
true.
very level-headed.
That's
They're going to
true.
be all chickens
Survival-
with their heads cut off.
No, I'm not saying there
That's
wouldn't
how
be
I
threats
imagined
and
it too. Yeah.
possible, downsides of being in the city. There's definitely
Dangerous boys walking the streets.
Yeah,
at
but
night.
I feel like if you could rally your community together, who are like,
I'm just saying a good example of it is we had a little water contamination,
yeah,
and parts of the city, like as far as like water, like coffee related stuff, got shut down.
No
But
kidding.
people ransacked bottled
Oh.
water,
You're kidding.
and it was like a couple days.
but they're ransacked.
When was this?
like a year or two ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
I would be
Yeah,
expecting
makes sense.
lawlessness for sure, but like I would say,
100%.
if the place where I'm living, like
Lawlessness.
the structure is still solid, it's like a place to sleep. It's got locked doors.
True.
We could boil water. We could.
I'm just being
Could
devil's
you?
advocate.
I have
Advocate.
some. I have a little camping kit, like cook kit,
Okay.
so I could use that. I think
kit.
I even have iodine.
Well, that's
So
I didn't expect anybody to say city, but
not just city per
that's
se.
fine.
I would just say where I am.
Let me ask you this: would your answer change if you had to be alone?
What would you bring in that case?
Because here's
That's a
how
good
I think
question.
about it.
If it's alone in the city, then you're really safe.
Do you think so?
If you're alone,
Or are
absolutely.
you
no.
more of a
Or
target?
are you talking about still people there?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't mean okay.
Yeah, if you were by yourself.
I don't know. Probably then I'd probably want to be
They're
by
gonna tip
myself.
I just keep thinking of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like just zombies everywhere. You're the only
No,
survivor.
I'd probably go out to the woods for that. Scenario. But
So the woods. I'd find.
I'd
you
probably set up my touring bike kind of like I did for my trip.
there. Your what?
Touring bike. Like I would get.
Touring bike.
touring bike,
What is that?
Like
basically-
a
explain
touring
that.
test.
like a cycling bike
Like-
for touring.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
You just
Yeah.
load it up with your stuff, and that's probably what I do and bike out of
Really?
town and like try my best.
He's
out there.
done it before. I'll do it again.
Okay,
Give it a
well,
shot.
you would choose to sit here in the city. That's great.
Yeah, I think so.
What would be your tool?
My Swiss Army knife.
Okay, Swiss Army knife.
I
I
love
have.
it.
It's pretty handy.
Yeah.
It's got a screwdriver. It's got scissors.
Classy.
It's got all the
Yeah.
goods.
Now,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Or maybe a water canteen.
Walkie-talkie?
I don't know.
Water games?
no, you need the knife.
Just one though. Just one. No, so there's
No,
no.
you
I can make a
double
cup
crossing.
out of my hands.
I've thought about this a little bit too much, and I would get as far away from the city as I possibly could.
Yep, same.
100%. Is I think, sheer speculation. I have seen a few episodes of The Walking Dead, so I have that under my belt. But I think if we were in some kind of long-term bad situation, that things would get pretty violent pretty fast, and it'd be widespread pandemonium. And then when people do start dying, you have diseases all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting for resources, but you do have resources, so I guess it'd be a cost-benefit analysis of where you think you could last the longest. Would you stay in the city and have resources but be in danger,
Right.
or would you go out of the city and not have resources and be safer?
You definitely thought
But
about
maybe
this a
maybe
lot.
you wouldn't if you can't protect yourself from the elements and stuff. You wouldn't be safer. But Eddie, where would you want to be stranded if you had to be?
Easy question. I'd be in Astoria.
Oh, okay.
You know what?
Astoria.
Now,
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, hold on. Give us a preface though. Where is Astoria exactly?
It's about, what is it, like hour and a half away from here?
North?
East, I think.
You don't know where
East.
Astoria is?
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
Dude, we
I
need
don't.
to go to Astoria one day.
Dude.
Astoria is the very tip of Oregon.
We
the very
should-
northwestern tip of
Oh.
We
Oregon.
should. I took a solo trip there, but we should all take a trip together. It'd be fun. They
That
have
would be fun.
a couple breweries. We could walk around. I literally just walked around. I didn't plan anything. I just walked around.
It's a nice city.
Can you do that at the end of the world? Will it be just as fun?
Heck yeah, dude. The
take a
Goonies
trip
did
there.
it.
The Goonies did it.
Oh,
Well,
and that
I
leads.
have been there. I have been there.
That
I have been
leads-
there.
yeah, it's where the Goonies was filmed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw their house and the walruses that chill on that beach. They're mean.
Yeah.
leads
Now,
They do not
Eddie,
share.
why would you pick Astoria?
because the Goonies were there, dude. And
Because
just,
the
it
Goonies.
seems safe, dude.
It seems.
I'm telling you.
Okay, it just seems safe.
Yeah.
And what would be your tool?
If kids can survive, we can survive.
Easy question. One-eyed Willie's map.
No, come on.
Stop it. Stop it right now.
I chose Astoria just for that joke. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my
I'm not gonna
God.
lie. I feel like it would be. I feel like it would be safe and not enough. I feel like it's not known well enough that I think people would steer away from it. I don't think people. Who's like it's the end of the world. People are gonna go to Astoria. No.
Let's go on a nice apocalyptic vacation to beautiful Astoria, Oregon.
Where the seas are great. No, I'd probably stay in Astoria.
No, so what's your tool?
I actually didn't think of a tool. I was just thinking One-eyed Willie's map.
Willie's map. That's so good.
It would probably be a Swiss Army knife too. I mean,
Okay.
that seems the most effective for like a just in case thing. You know, it has everything you need,
Don't get a
Gotcha.
big head, Ronnie.
Okay.
or some
Don't
sort
get a
of
big
survival kit.
I will bend your Swiss Army knife right now.
Well, guys, let us know in the
Indestructible.
chat, where would you want to be in the case of calamity? Where would you want to be, and what tool would you have? Drop it in the chat, and I'll read it. Tanner Moss says Sonoma County Forest would be perfect. Good spring river water resource, vineyards for grapes and food. Oh, he's thinking about making some of that wine.
Ooh.
And the ocean is nearby for good protein sources as well as land mammals, smaller,
Snacks.
predatory.
I like the way
Man,
this
Tanner's
guy
breaking it
thinks.
down, and he said
Seriously.
Tanner's always breaking it down.
smaller predatory mammal populations help to make survival
Yes,
better.
yes.
Also,
Heck yeah.
all I need would be a Survivor Man survival knife from Costco. Make survival very
Wow.
This guy.
Guys,
we
this week
go.
we're sponsored by Survivor Man survivor knives from No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not a
If you
joke.
want
It's
to sponsor
100%
us,
true.
call us. Also, the weather is almost the same year round, so it'll never get too frigid conditions.
He's got it.
He's
got
thinking.
it.
He's
Now,
really
this
got
is the
it.
guy who's thought about this before.
I'll go there.
guy's nailed
That's
it
my
down.
answer now.
This,
I like
is the,
that.
this is the guy that's thought about
Okay,
this before.
My
I
boy
take
Tanner
back
Moss.
what I said about a water filter. I'm gonna bring Tanner. Trevor?
Tanner.
I choose Tanner as well.
Tanner.
I choose
Okay.
Trevor. Trevor Moss.
All right, Trevor Moss is Eddie's. Well, so
I like how
Sorry,
you
Trevor.
called it first and I took him.
I'm in the same boat as
Sucks,
Tanner
man.
here,
Sorry, Trevor.
but I know
Tanner.
that a lot of people aren't. A lot of people would feel safer in the city than the outdoors, just because there's a skills gap there.
Typical.
But for me, 100%, I would be in the outdoors.
Hey,
Yeah, 100%.
Alderman Farms. So good. That's
So
brilliant.
Alderman Farms says hashtag duh.
Yes.
You're gonna have to
That's so
explain
good.
that one.
Heck,
Duh.
Hashtag duh.
Hashtag duh.
So yeah, actually,
That's so good.
man, and Dad, if you're listening, I have definitely thought more than once, man, it would be nice to be situated in my parents' farm when things went down.
Mhm.
But I'm a long ways away. I tried to find a river route where I could get to them.
From here?
Just
You know,
floating and
you-
not paddling, but it's not possible.
You've already done this survival though. You lived off of dandelions for a week. Remember
I
that?
did, yeah. My mom knows that story. I
I
was
bet
not
she
a,
does.
used up all the toilet paper in the house when I got back.
It's
Wowee.
But
dandelions. Natural
I think I would
laxatives.
probably put my boat in the Columbia River and float somewhere down towards Astoria.
Really.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
call.
So okay. So is it northwest?
Northwest of here. Yeah,
Northwest. Okay.
yeah.
Who's Northwest?
You got
You'd float.
reliable fish, mammals, plants, mushrooms. I wouldn't feel bad drinking the Columbia until I got a water. But interesting, I wouldn't bring a water filter because you could rig up a way to purify water pretty easily.
How is that?
You just carve a hole in a log and then burn it out with coals and then fill that with water and then burn up rocks in your fire, get them really, really hot, and then put the really hot rocks in that carved out bowl in the log, boil your water and drink it from there.
Or,
Wow.
easier, take a nice little pot, stick it on the stove.
I don't have a pot.
Or easier, you could just take a water filter.
You ain't living this apocalypse right, my friend.
We get one item. We get one item.
You could just drink.
But
it.
you get to steal
joking.
as many items
I mean,
as you want.
think about never having to work for your water. You can just focus on food. So if you had a water filter, you wouldn't have to worry
But I
about
mean,
anything else.
that truly
except-
doesn't sound that
Or
difficult.
you wouldn't have to worry about water. You'd worry about
What
it.
Cameron's
Yeah.
saying.
For my one tool, I would definitely bring my
And sometimes
my machete.
sometimes the problem with
That's your
like
tool.
water filtration systems is the filter of it has like a
A limit. It
a
does.
limit of
You're
how
right.
much
You're
it
right.
can filter
You're
before
right.
it like.
Well, while we're on the topic,
Right.
I highly recommend a life straw. It's $27
I've
and
seen
it
that.
filters 100,000 gallons of water.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
I never hike in water on hunting or camping trips.
Get yourself
Never.
a life straw, Evan.
Wow.
It'll save your life one day.
Never.
I have seen people use that before. It looks like it's pretty easy to use.
It's awesome, yeah.
Really?
And they're expanding their product line too, so it's not just the straw. They have like bag systems now where you can press it through a filter.
That's cool.
Wow.
So
This is eye opening. I like this.
let's see. What do we have here?
Tanner.
What else?
Thanks
we
for
got?
your
Tanner's
your
got it.
answers, Alderman Farms and Tanner.
Tanner, he's a genius.
Tanner Moss.
What a
My
good
guy.
guy.
So
boy.
That's awesome.
next topic.
What we got?
You ever? Well, actually, let me start by asking a different question. What are you guys best at? What is
hard.
your best skill? It's kind of a hard question to ask without sounding like a conceited butt, but
Yeah.
what is your best skill? Is it a professional skill, a personal skill?
I-
Ronnie, you're very musically talented. Evan, not a lot to say there.
Yee.
Oh, just kidding.
Hey.
Wingo.
No,
That's
okay.
my friend you're
Wow.
talking about. I don't like that.
Feel singled out here a little bit.
That's not okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
okay.
tell you what. We'll pass over that because we don't
Garbage
we don't
question.
want to brag on ourselves. We don't want to brag.
Are you sure?
So-
Because I feel like I need to defend
So here's a
myself now.
question: If you
Yeah.
could instantly gain a master level skill in one thing, what would it be? It doesn't have to be for to make money. It can be. That's fine. It's anything in the world.
I was thinking about this earlier.
Uh-huh.
I've always wanted to play piano. I wish I would have started young.
Okay.
Very cool.
Maybe not at the same time, because I feel like if I would have started playing piano young, might have not like continued my interest as I got older. But I still kind of wish at some point I learned to play that instrument,
Gotcha.
because it would help me personally to do some of the musical ideas that I've had in the past, where I'm like, I kind of would wish I could like figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
It would be easy to be like, oh, I could figure this out because I know.
And that's also monetizable. You could definitely make money if you were a true piano master.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like, among the elite in the
Oh,
world.
absolutely, yeah.
Evan, what would
Yeah,
your skill be?
No kidding. I think that it would have to be probably more on the psychology side of things, to be a master of the human mind and the way that it works and thinks. I would like to be a psychological master, understanding
Wow.
people.
For magic tricks or
For for magic tricks, well, I mean, honestly, I think that dealing with people is sometimes the most difficult part about being in this world. And so
100%.
if you can understand people and know how to communicate with them, like think about diplomacy and how important that is with from one country to the next. Like it keeps people from war, it keeps people from economic collapse at times. Like even just your general relationship from an employee to a boss. To understand how someone thinks and how they work, I think that it would be the best thing to master, because it doesn't matter what position you're in. If you're always around people, you can understand and know how to work with people. Your weaknesses wouldn't be as accented and noticeable if you could just help other people. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be so self-focused. You'd be like, okay, well, I can work with anybody, so it doesn't matter what situation I'm in. If I know how people think, I can understand the situation and help someone or help myself, So yeah, I think it would be psychological.
That's
Warfare.
an interesting twist on it. Ronald?
psychological warfare.
Probably be guitar.
That's so funny.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's
A lot of
something-
music. Okay, we got two music.
Yeah. Guitar, I love it.
Is it
wish
because,
I-
do you think, and Eddie, I'm curious your input on this too. Would it be just to have the skill, or would it be your aim is to have that skill so you could be a professional, like a working professional in it?
100
Or would it just be for your pleasure?
pleasure, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ronnie, what do
that's-
you think?
It'd be both for sure. Because I think if you're like a master musician, you could really make a living off that, and be doing what you're the best at for a career. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But then also just for the pure pleasure of playing, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't
It's-
have that, it's like
It's such an outlet
you're
to
missing
like
out. I don't know if
express
people feel
yourself.
that. Maybe some people do. Once it becomes like a job, you kind of lose the
It loses its luster.
sometimes. But
It can.
I hope. Yeah, I would think most musicians, you wouldn't want to be there.
Personally,
you wouldn't want to be.
it would just be for pleasure. Like
Yeah.
like when I was thinking of this, I there was no part of me that was like, oh, I want to do it for money. It's more because there have been like music outlets that I wish I could pursue, but it's a little bit harder for me because I don't know like music notes, and I feel like piano is like where you go.
Oh, yeah.
As far as that goes, you start with piano or guitar, and it like leads to so many different like music
Do you have a
outlets.
piano?
For sure. It's a good launching off point.
I wish.
I don't know. I was tempted to say piano too. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it is especially beautiful to the human ear, but I feel like a lot of people, if you ask them the question, what instrument would you want to play? If you could learn how to play any instrument, a lot of people would say piano. I don't know why it's so prevalent. I guess, so many masterpieces of music were written on a piano. But I thought about that too, but a topical response for me, just because I'm kind of into it right now, I think I would want to have a master level understanding of physics and astronomy. I think walking around with a
Goodness.
expert level physics understanding
Wouldn't that be incredible?
of the world, I think you would literally look at the world differently. I think you would see the world differently if you understood physics from top to bottom. I mean,
100%.
That's
who really does?
That's really good. Ken.
I
That's really good.
I try to listen to people who teach physics and stuff on YouTube. Sometimes I just have to walk away because I just don't understand it.
Oh, okay.
It gets so dense.
Especially that book you gave me about black holes.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I'll read like 3 pages at a time.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It's nice
yeah.
though.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad that you enjoy it though.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Tanner in the YouTube chat said he would want to have the master level of disguise.
Oh,
I want to be
the
a master
master
of
of
would.
disguise.
He freaking would.
That would allow you to
That
do a
one
lot of
makes
stuff.
sense. That one, I'm
That's
not
so
even
cool.
questioning that one.
That's a
so
good one.
cool.
100% no.
I like that.
And also in the chat we have Alderman Farms. It would be a toss-up between the 5-string banjo or total fluency in Spanish.
Oh my goodness.
Fluency in a language, like specifically Spanish, would be helpful.
Oh, wouldn't it though?
Would
My
be
gosh,
great.
that's so good.
Yeah,
It's good.
you know,
That is so good. Wow.
I don't think not so much here with Spanish, but
Oh,
knowing a second language.
no, Spanish here too.
No,
Everywhere. I mean,
what,
come on.
you didn't let me finish.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Not specifically Spanish here, but if you are fluent in a second language, you always have the fallback career of being a translator.
Yeah.
Now, I have a friend who speaks, I believe, Mandarin and Cantonese as well as English, all perfectly fluently.
Wow.
She was from Hong Kong,
Oh, okay.
and if I'm not mistaken, she didn't go to college. She started being a medical translator in a hospital before she was college age, and that's what she still does today. And she travels the world whenever she makes good money. And
Is it Elizabeth?
it is Elizabeth, yeah.
Okay.
That's who I was
That's
thinking.
what I thought.
What a crazy thing, huh?
I
really cool.
I almost want to take back
Take it back.
my answer
Take it back.
and say fluency in Japanese.
Okay.
Because it's always a language that I've wanted to pursue, and I want to pursue it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just haven't had the time to, or I have had the time, but I haven't had the initiative. But I would use it. I would honestly use it to freaking move to Japan.
Yeah, because you have to have certain levels of Japanese language fluency to do different jobs there and stuff.
Yeah,
My little brother is actually learning Japanese right now. He wants to go to Japan to teach English.
yeah. That's
So
what I was gonna do.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the career to be in right now.
Yeah, I think hold on, I want to comment though. 5-string banjo though, like let's talk about that. That is hard to master.
Yeah,
And when someone
my dad
does-
got. I mean, I don't know how to rank his skill level, but at one point he was picking pretty consistently.
So
Pretty
like
consistently.
150
Well,
level, or
I don't know.
In my opinion,
I
even
just
an
made up a number.
average,
That was
even
just
an
a random
average
number.
skill of the banjo is incredible. It sounds
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
like that Ronnie
Oh
laughed
yeah,
because
absolutely. It's
I
impressive.
was like,
If
that
you
is
hear it
very
compared
impressive.
to guitar, you hear that compared.
Oh, it's totally
It'd be cool if
different
there's
instrument.
actually
Yeah.
levels.
Absolutely,
What level
absolutely.
are you, banjo player?
Yeah, it takes a very fast, repetitive mind
I'm
to
Ruby
kind of.
level.
Okay,
Good ribs.
guys, it's time
Brigades.
to call in my friend.
Thank you, my dude.
Now, what's going to happen
I'm
is
good.
he has a story for us, and then I need to ask you guys something based off of his story. Okay?
Okay.
Now, Evan knows what we're going to talk about. I
No.
don't think you guys do,
Not the story.
unless
do
I
not
spilled
know
the beans
story.
earlier. Okay.
I know.
So
I kinda know.
let's call this guy in and
Hit him
listen to his story with an open mind. Okay? When you find out what the story is about, don't bring in any preconceived notions. Let's just hear him out. All right?
I'll do it.
So let's call him in. And since this is the most technologically extreme
Opening my
and
mind.
advanced live stream on the internet, the audio is going to come through crystal clear with our high-tech setup. All right? So let's see.
With our high-tech microphones that we have set up. Why does it say Samuel Jackson? I'm just kidding.
Hello.
Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Cameron.
Oh,
It's nice to talk to you. So, guys,
there you go.
this is myself from the future, and we have some questions for him. No. Okay, so Cameron, I left the guys a bit in the dark here about what you're going to talk about. So,
Okay. Right.
you mind telling them the theme of your story? What happened to you, or what do you
Okay.
think might have happened to you? Just spill the beans right now.
So the theme of my story is Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh.
It's Bigfoot. It's Sasquatch.
So good.
Okay. So how does everybody feel about that? First off?
So good. So good.
I love it.
Tell us more.
I love it.
Tell us
Well,
more.
are you guys feeling good because of the beers or because it's Sasquatch?
Well, it's
Sasquatch night.
It's
I would-
champagne.
It's champagne night.
I would
But-
say it's a good
Oh, there you
50-50.
go.
But I will say on any day, at any given moment, if you bring up Bigfoot or Sasquatch, I am there. I
Okay.
am there.
So Cam, I've asked the guys to go in with an open mind.
Okay.
Me and Evan have talked about this probably more extensively than is healthy for any adults with jobs to do. But I don't really know where Eddie and Ronnie stand on this. So, for context, guys, I think I posted something on Instagram, and Cam responded, and he said, "I don't know if I believe it or not, but I do have a story I can't explain."
Mm.
So,
I do.
So,
I do.
so that's why he's here right now. So Cam, why don't you start from the beginning
Let's
and
go
tell
in.
us about this story,
I'm
and
shaking.
then we'll have to make some decisions here.
Cool. Well, first off, I'll tell you the story here in a sec. But first off, I just gotta explain that I do not know how to just explain what happened. And I'm still, very skeptical that there's 8-foot tall monkeys walking around the deep woods or whatnot. But what happened to me this summer, this summer I'm about to talk about, not this last summer, but this summer, has me 51% on the side of believing in Bigfoot and 49% on the other side of the fence. So
I like it. I like
that's
it.
where I'm at. So I believe in Bigfoot just a little bit more than I don't believe in him because of this.
So you're
All right.
You're what we would call a realist or a skeptic.
Sure. Yep. That would be perfect. So anyway, it was the summer of 2015, so it was 3 years ago, and it was our drought year here in the Northwest. And a buddy and I went up to camp in the deep, remote woods of southeast Mount Hood, where we go every summer during basically the same week. We've been up there at other times, but it's usually the second or third week of August. We go up to this little lake, and because it was a drought year, so it's a reservoir, it's a small little reservoir. They had started draining the thing a little bit early that year. And so we get up there, and it's a complete mud hole. I mean, there's a little bit of water way out in the middle, but as far as the size of the lake goes, it was very, very small compared to normal. So we get setting up camp because a couple other friends are going to meet us up there the next day. So we're setting up, and all of a sudden a Forest Service police officer rolls down into the lake. And I never knew that Forest Service police officers existed. I knew about rangers and just Forest Service and stuff like that. But this was an actual cop.
So it's an entirely separate branch.
And entirely, everything about him looked like Forest Service, but in, the colors, the emblems, everything, but he was literally in, a uniform, like a police uniform. So, full kit, belt, and everything like that. So
right?
he pulled up and in his SUV and came up to us and said, "Hey, guys, you guys can probably stay here for a night or two, but just to let you know, because of the extreme fire danger, because of the drought, Badger Lake is what it's called, is one of 2 locations in all of Oregon that they were going to shut down for the summer. Because to get into this lake, and why I say it's deep, remote, is it's one trail in, one trail out. It's literally a single lane, and it's a goat trail. It's you have to have an SUV or truck to get in there. You're bumping around the whole time, so it's difficult to get in. So they were closing it because of that, just in case fire broke out, and it's really hard to get in. As the police officer said, we don't want to have to send in a Black Hawk after you, so bring in a helicopter,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, okay, now that the whole drought thing is prefaced.
Could I ask one question though? I'm just interested in.
Of course.
In relation to Oregon, where would this be located?
Southeast side of Mount Hood.
Southeast side of Mount Hood. Okay.
Yep, and it's a sizable lake for high alpine lake, or subalpine lake, I should say. But it's pretty small. If you're looking at a map, it's definitely a small body of water for sure.
Okay.
But so we decide. We talk to the officer, who is really cool. We say, hey, we're gonna stay here for a night, and then we're gonna get out of here in the morning so we can go call our friends, because there's no cell service where we're at. So we're gonna get out. So we pack up about half a camp and end up just staying for the one night. No campfire or anything. And then this is where things got interesting. So our normal campsite that we like to use there's an outflow creek from the lake that rolls basically right by it, down this little embankment down the backside, maybe drops down maybe like 6 to 8 feet. And there's a creek bed, and because of the drought, because the lake was so small, there was no water flowing through it. So it was a dry, just river rock style creek bed, just all rocks, just all sizable rocks that were anywhere from between I don't know, a golf ball to volleyball size, little small boulders. So we eat dinner, and about dusk, my buddy Rob falls asleep in his camp chair around the fire pit. Of course, we're not having any fire because it's extremely dangerous at that point. Mm-hmm. But he falls asleep in his camp chair, and I'm just kind of meddling about camp, just not really doing anything in particular. And all of a sudden, this is where it gets interesting, where through the creek bed, that dry creek bed, I hear just this huge crash, and it goes, it's clack, 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 clack. And what it was, the sound of, was a rock rolling through this creek bed at like high velocity, and it had to have been going for, it was probably a good 2 to 3 seconds worth of sound, right? So my buddy Rob shoots straight up out of his camp chair, wakes him up, and he actually says, "Where's my gun?" Like, he panicked because he didn't know what the hell was happening.
Wow.
So, because we always go into the woods armed, mainly for the people, not for animals,
Yeah.
But he shoots straight up and says, "Where's my gun?" And then from across the creek bed in the thick forest that's across it, I run up to the creek bed with a flashlight because I want to see what it was. And across it, in the brush, we hear walking away from us, just like basically 2 legs. What I attribute is 2 legs moving through the thick brush, moving away from us until we couldn't hear it anymore. So that's that part, and we're startled. We run over there with flashlights. We don't go over there, but we run up to the creek bed with flashlights, and we're scanning. We don't see anything. We can just hear something walking away from us.
So you identified it not as a 4-ped, but a 2-ped type creature. This was not something that was like crashing on multiple legs, disturbing, but
That's bipedal.
bipedal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
As far as I could tell,
You telling me it was a 2-ped?
We got a 2-ped.
We got a 2-ped eight here.
Should have worn one of them darn old mopeds.
Stop it. You're gonna kill me.
Okay, anyway, you went to the creek, you shined the flashlight. Now, did you see any... Are you finished with your story? I'm sorry.
I'm not finished, but as far as I know, to answer your question, as far as I could tell, it sounded bipedal walking away from us, and it didn't sound like it was in any kind of hurry. Like, you startle a deer, and they scamper off. You startle... I've encountered a couple times mountain lions. They don't want anything to do with human beings.
Okay.
And you wouldn't hear a lion going through the woods.
Oh, you wouldn't know. They're silent. You don't hear them anyway.
And everybody knows what a 4-legged deer sounds like, or elk or something.
Not everybody, but yeah.
Yeah, and so it sounded very casual walking away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you guys, I like to say this too. I don't know what I experienced exactly, but I don't know what it was, but I know 100% what I experienced. Like, this is clear, it's real, it's like, I remember it like it was yesterday.
And you shared the experience with somebody else who was just as spooked.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so then later that night, so my buddy Rob goes to his tent. He goes to bed because he was already falling asleep, like I mentioned. And so I'm like, okay, this is one of my favorite places to camp. I'm only going to be here for a night this year, so I'm going to go enjoy this. So I walk down to the lake, to where we would normally sit up on the bank.
You're a brave man. You are a brave man.
Well, he's strapped.
Well, I had a 45 on my hip, so...
Okay. Still.
But so I went down there, and it was a nice moon that night and everything. And this lake is absolutely gorgeous. I would suggest maybe not making it ultra popular to people around Portland, but I would suggest going here. It's really, really fantastic.
Well, you just told it live on the air to 1,500 people.
Well,
I'm just kidding. There's 6 people watching, and one of them's my dad, and one of them's me. So.
Well, so I would recommend going to this lake. It's awesome. And so I'm sitting out there on a stump that's near the bank. It's usually submerged because it's a reservoir, so all the trees got cut. There's a bunch of stumps down in the water. So I'm sitting on it just enjoying a beer, and it was 11:12 p.m. because I checked my watch when it happened. Up the ridge to the right of me, so imagine this lake is sitting in like a big horseshoe-shaped bowl. So it's a 3-sided bowl that goes up like probably 1,000 feet on each side where the ridges are.
Okay.
And up the ridge to my right, I kind of gauged it maybe a quarter of the way down the lake, maybe halfway down the lake. I heard what people call a Bigfoot knock. I heard basically a large limb or piece of wood being hit onto a tree because it had that woody type sound to it, and it literally it echoed throughout the whole canyon we were in. It was dunk, 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 dunk. And I remember specifically just looking up towards where it came from and kind of getting chills on my goosebumps, and
Sure.
I just said out loud to myself, I go, wow, that was weird. And then
Wow.
I waited out there longer, and nothing else ever happened. But I waited out there for probably another hour, and nothing else. But then I retired for the night, and we got out of there the next day, and that was it.
So in respect to this sound that you heard, was this like wood on wood? Like,
Yes, that is exactly what it sounded like. And here's the kicker for me too. So there's a trail that goes up that side of the lake, and then switchbacks up further to go up to the ridge. Which the next summer I actually took that trail all the way up to the ridge for the first time, and get up on top of that ridge there. But here's the real weird thing to me is no human being could have been on that trail because it's in such thick woods in the nighttime without a light. And the way this lake is set up, I would have easily been able to see a light coming through the woods if a backpacker was getting in real late or something. I would have been able to see this light, and there was absolutely no light from the direction this noise came from.
wow.
Okay, so I want to step back a few steps and ask a few questions.
Sure.
Let's talk about the rock going through the creek bed.
Yeah, that's what I want to know about.
Now, based on the geography, was it possible that a rock dislodged from some nearby hillside, picked up momentum, and was seeking its level and ended up in the creek bottom? Because that's obviously where, or if the area was sloped, it would be reasonable to assume that a rock would make its way to the creek bed.
Right.
And was the creek bed sloped or was it flat?
See this area, most of the creek bed is pretty flat on each side of it, besides right where we were camped at. Like right where our campsite is the only place where it's kind of down like a little gully, for lack of a better term. And this rock didn't just dislodge from right there and roll down in. And it sounded to me, again, my own personal judgment, that it had too much velocity just to have rolled down, and it lasted for too long, and in my mind it rolled for too long to have just kind of rolled down this little embankment and hit the creek bed.
As if it had some force behind it.
Yes.
As if it was moved and it had gotten there, not just by natural occurrence.
Yes. And what we because we went over every possible scenario we could have about what that could have been.
Sure.
And my buddy Rob, he's very, very skeptical. He even though he shot up straight out of his chair and said, "Where's my gun?" He doesn't even believe like it actually happened. Really, he just is like, "Oh, just something weird happened, just a weird sound in the forest kind of deal." So we went back and tried to figure out maybe what would have happened, and if there was a deer over there, because there's deer all over the place up there.
Oh, you don't say, huh?
But
There's deer up
but
there? What?
There's no way this deer could have dislodged a rock for the location we were at. If it was trying to get up an embankment or a hillside and somehow dislodged it, it's just not possible for the geography right there.
So would you say that it took something with a sizable strength to remove this rock and project it?
I think that's what he's saying.
Yes.
I mean, this is clear communication here, because you got to ask these questions, because when you're out there and you're looking for every answer possible. You're not just trying to assume anything could happen, especially out of this world or some sort of, like you're trying to come to like a probable conclusion. So when you have something of that size and magnitude land and roll, I mean, it would take a force pretty large to actually throw that rock or remove it from its place and send it down.
Can I?
Very much so. It would have at least had to have been just the way like physiological things are made up. It would have had to at least been a human, I think, because I don't think a deer, with how big the rock sounded and how long it went for, I don't think a deer could even if it dislodged something, could make it sound like that, because just their hooves aren't capable of putting momentum behind something like that.
Sure.
So let's just assume for a moment that it actually is Bigfoot. Let's just say that let's just assume that for just a second.
Sure.
would you say it was probably a way of him saying, or like a way of Sasquatch saying, like, get out of my territory? Or what's your perspective on it?
So after this, you know, obviously we've probably all seen the stupid shows on TV where, you know, they find a footprint and then they go on for an hour about, you know, what it could have been or whatnot. But after
It's kind of what you're doing now, to be honest.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, totally.
I'm just kidding.
It does sound crazy, but I got back and started doing a bunch of research, and just from, you know, people's stories that I found on the internet,
My boy.
it's almost like, you know, rock.
Give him a little bit more.
Let's say, put these in quotes, right? You know, rock throwing incidents have never actually like hit a human being.
Right.
People say that, oh, a rock came through my camp, or a rock hit a tree near me, or something like that. And what people attribute it to is basically like either say it was, like you said, a Sasquatch saying, hey, this is my territory. I just want to let you know, like, this is my place. Like, almost like a, you know, marking their territory kind of deal.
Todd Standing would probably agree with you on that point.
Whoa,
you
okay.
hold on a second.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to name drop here. Like, you get to a point where you eliminate all the probable causes and you say, okay, well, if you know the animals in the area, you know their behavior, you know it's possible, and you come to this sort of position that you're in yourself, where something happens and you're like, oh, well, I can't explain it. It's not a deer, it's not a bear. What is it? You can go to the conclusion, I mean, if you dare, to say that it was something else.
If you dare.
And if you go to that position and you say Sasquatch, it's more probable than, say, a poltergeist or a ghost or something like that. Like it's something that is real or probable, right? Like a creature that lives.
It depends on who you ask. But we have time for 2 more questions, and then we're gonna have to let Cam go. We're running short on time. Ronnie, would you like to ask a question about this fiasco?
Ooh. Man, let me think about that for a second more.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Cam,
no.
I want to ask you one more. Then you singled out the beginning of your story. You made it a point to differentiate the Forest Service police rather than the Forest Service. Are you insinuating that the Forest Police might be clued into a possible Sasquatch in the area or of activity, and so they were trying to get you out?
Ooh.
That's a good question. Actually up until now I had not thought about that, because everything with the drought year just seemed to make sense. There's a crazy road to get in.
I do have to agree with that.
So all that really just sounded like it made a lot of sense. And this officer told us there was two locations in all of Oregon, only 2 that they were shutting down. So it's like he had like information more so on, than just like, hey, we want you out of here kind of deal. But in this research I mentioned when I got back, I have read certain, real conspiracy type theories where there are people who work for the Forest Service and or the government that do know or think that there really is these creatures walking around the woods out there.
Sure.
And that they're keeping it under wraps for whatever reason. So, not saying that it was the case in that instance, but that could definitely be a possibility in my mind as well.
Yeah, we have a similar situation down in Mississippi. A lot of people, including people that I trust, say they have for sure seen Black Panthers down there. And I know I used to go to church with this game warden who says that he personally went on a call from the police to go meet a man in a neighboring city because he said he had pictures of a Black Panther, and his job was to take the memory card and tell that guy not to tell anybody.
Wow.
And he said he saw it. So I do believe that the government, whatever, if you want to be conspiratorial, does keep things from us.
Aliens.
But I don't know.
Well, unless they like the territory as much as Cameron here, and they're just trying to keep people out of it, because they know if someone finds out there's a Sasquatch there, legitimately, that people will start flocking. They're trying to cover the territory.
Bubba will be there with his
Yeah.
30-06 in about 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
one point to make there too is I have thought about for the last 3 years since it's happened. I have thought about contacting, the certain call them just funny or silly or whatever organizations around that do, quote unquote Bigfoot research. I have thought about contacting the one that's here locally because one of the guys on one of the Bigfoot shows is from Portland. But I haven't done that because I don't want to blow up this spot like a lot of places.
Interesting.
Good
Interesting.
call.
Even someone who has possibly made contact. I was going to ask you that actually because I'm interested in the research that you have done to find out how many sightings there have been or potential sightings.
There's websites for that. But guys, we actually need to let Cam go. We need to wrap up the show here in about the next 10 minutes. So Mr. Bird, thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks, Cam.
Thanks, guys. I love talking about this kind of stuff, and it's really interesting. And I'll let you go, but just one more thing. Like I said, I don't know what it was, but I know 100% what I experienced. So, all of that's what kills me about not really knowing what it was because I know what I experienced. So,
right. And nobody can take that from you.
Nope. And then the following summer, we'll say this for another time. The following summer, we were camping up there with a group, and there were some crazy, weird noises coming out of the woods up there.
Oof.
Well, it's a hot spot.
It's a hot spot of something.
All right. Well, we're gonna dive into this a little deeper, and I thank you again for calling in and telling us about your experience.
Thank you, Cameron.
Right,
thanks,
guys,
man.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, first guest.
Thank you.
And again.
Awesome.
All right, talk to you later, buddy.
Thank you so much.
First
Bye-bye.
and only guest. I mean, first guest. Just kidding.
Well, guys.
Wow.
I'm
shook.
A lot of stuff there.
What do you say to that?
I mean, I don't believe anymore, but it's hearing people's stories that really make you question at least. I mean, but I know the kind of hype your mind can create. I've experienced that for sure, especially with camping and just hearing loud noises or what you think to be bullet sounds or something that's close to camp. I've had that freak you out and you kind of jump to certain conclusions.
Yeah.
But on instinct, and there could be something there.
Now I will say, and you guys wouldn't know this because you don't know Cam. You might.
I met him a few times. I don't know him well.
Yeah, I would take that story differently depending on who it's from. But Cam is a really level-headed guy.
From what I gather.
And he's got his wits about him. So
I think the biggest thing for me is that he specifically narrowed down every single thing. Knowing the velocity of that rock going down that hill, there's no way a deer could have unlodged a boulder or some sort of rock down that quickly.
Yeah, okay, so in the last 10 minutes here of the show, let's just put it out on the table. Do you believe?
Yes.
Why or why not?
Why
Eddie,
not?
you ready to go, dude? Tell us about it.
I said yes, but
You didn't even have to hear his story, did you?
no.
Why do you believe?
I don't know. I kind of just want to.
Yeah.
That's truly the
Is part
answer.
of it maybe wishful thinking? It would be really cool if it did, so it maybe nudges you in that direction?
Something
Or do you think there's evidence to support it?
something about I don't want to say that Sasquatch isn't real, but to put a definition on it, or to put
A label.
a label. Yes, thank you. A label on it. I like the idea of mythical creatures.
Yep.
The griffin. would
And
be
I
so
want
cool
them
if
to
those
exist.
existed.
So why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Ronald McDonald?
Well, this is one of those questions that gets put into a probability. I can't say no or yes. It's probably 70%.
70% no.
No. 70% no.
Okay,
But there's a section of...
What fosters and nurtures that 30% of doubt you have on that opinion?
It's because the people, I feel have not supplied adequate evidence. I know there's plenty of sighting, and it's usually oh, we got this picture. It's kind of fuzzy, or this track. Some of those I could see somebody kind of with some of the UFO crop patterns, some of those are manufactured by humans. I feel
All of them.
I feel there could even be a full-time hobby dedicated to let's keep this myth alive.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's go out there and make it look like this thing is around because this is just fun. it could be totally somebody's fun, kind of twisted hobby where it's just like, let's keep making like these signs that there's a Bigfoot. But with that said, I do reserve.
It's a dangerous hobby, boy.
Yeah, but
I will
there's
say,
a lot of dangerous hobbies.
Yeah.
I will say, how rad would it be to be the person who's faking Bigfoot this entire time?
Communities,
You
of
know?
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Bunch
would,
of
like, even if you're not getting credit for it, you're like,
It's
yeah.
like George Soros is funding
So-
him or something
That's
like
me,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
That's
So-
me. I'm in that suit, dude.
I think that's where I
You could
chime
not
in
pay me to put a
here,
Bigfoot suit on and walk around the woods. No
because
way.
I have to chime in here because in our society, yes, you could have people that fake it, yes. But if you go back further, okay?
Mhm.
You go back further before social media, before fame, before time began, you have over a plethora, over 1,000 different tribes across America, Indian tribes, Native Americans native to this land,
And other where in the world.
and others in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll stick to just America, just for instance. So we've got all these tribes that have described the same creature, described it. Okay, described it like we're talking hair, the color of the hair, the size of the creature, the sound it makes. Okay, the footsteps, all that. It comes with a different name in every tribe that were not connected. They did not have social media. We're talking about from the east to the west, and as Cameron said, beyond the world. So these people did not have a connection like we have. And they described this, and they created legends and myths as we call them today. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I believe in Sasquatch. I believe it's a bipedal.
Same.
It's a bipedal.
They can't silence us.
Humanoid ape.
Yeah.
And I believe in it. They have found
silence us.
Gigantopithecus that was a skeleton of
I was
a
going to talk
large-
about Gigantopithecus.
large human ape. So, and I say human ape.
A large bipedal ape.
Right. Yeah. And I say human.
Nothing
just
human
because
about it.
I say human because of the humanoid appearance of the scarer. Right. So we've got Skookum. Skookum is like the main word, and we've got all kinds of rivers and lands named after it. But these lands were forbidden for the Native Americans to go because these lands were haunted by this creature, Skookum. Okay, you can research this.
And that's more of a northwestern word for him.
It is, but the most sightings, probably actually from here, 45 minutes to an hour north of here is the most sightings in the entire world. of
St.
Sasquatch.
Helens?
You got St. Helens, but you also have Multnomah Falls, like just that whole road that leads down there. You've got so many sightings and people saying that we've seen things, and these people, for the majority, they don't get a lot of publicity. We're talking about articles here, or if that, conspiracy theorists. We're talking like articles on the internet that don't get touched by fame or whatever it is. So these people aren't looking for a way to get public. In fact, most cases, they're looking for a way to just stay private.
Yeah.
And they want to explain what they saw. They want to have an explanation for what they've experienced. So some people promote the idea of giving out the truth to protect these animals, to have them as an endangered species. So there's so much information out there going back beyond what we experience today as social media and getting famous. There's a lot of people out there that say, I've seen this creature, and they have hidden or public texts saying that this creature is real.
Yeah.
So a different name describing the same creature. That's what gets me every time. You could have 1,000 tribes of Native Americans across America that have a different name and a different story and a different legend describing the same exact creature.
I've talked to you about this before, Evan, but what changed my understanding of Bigfoot was hearing Les Stroud and a Survivor Man on the Discovery Channel talk about it. And he put it in a way that I guess made it more logical for me to understand.
I
More
trust that guy
palatable.
with all my heart
And your soul?
He's a good guy.
and soul.
Well, he said that people believe in Bigfoot on a spectrum, right? And on the far extreme, wacky end of the spectrum, people believe that Bigfoot is literally like a trans-dimensional being who can open up portals.
Oh yeah.
And that's why nobody can ever see him, because he can quickly go into different dimensions and stuff.
I like this.
And then there's a lot of people on the spectrum, and then at the absolute opposite end of the spectrum, the most grounded, logical portion of the spectrum is simply a large bipedal ape, and a skeleton that was found that we know crossed the Bering Strait is called Gigantopithecus. It's a 10-foot tall bipedal ape, right? And we know it was on the continental United States. I agree with Evan that it is really weird that so many tribes around the country and the world have described this creature. And if I do believe, it would be on on this end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And the other thing that changed my opinion about this as well is moving to the Northwest and experiencing wilderness for the first time. Living, I'm telling you guys all grew up in Oregon or Washington, you know, around the West. Large expanses of land do not exist like that east of the Mississippi River. And you really can't comprehend what a wilderness is and how vast it is until you actually put yourself in the middle of it. And I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that there could be an undiscovered creature in there. But I don't think it currently exists.
Or
I don't think it currently exists.
Or the stories are true and it is a discovered species that is being prevented from being quote unquote discovered.
I don't think so, because you can't prevent people from going anywhere in Oregon, right, or Washington. People hunt all the time. What I think, if I had to have an opinion and put money behind it, I would say it did exist at one point in time. A very large bipedal ape. But, you know, stories like Cam's, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of other stories from modern sightings around the world. Who's to say? But that's where I am. So, yeah. Who's to say? I mean,
Sasquatch is real.
If I'm being honest, when I am out in the woods alone,
tell you different.
Is it reeling people in?
He's out
yeah,
there.
the first few things I think about when I hear a bump in the night when I'm out in the woods is obviously like bears and cougars.
Yeah.
Or, you know, wolves, coyotes, things like that.
Which
but
is scary enough.
I do think about Bigfoot. You
Yeah.
know? I don't not believe enough to keep it from entering my mind when I'm out there by myself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that is all the time we have this week. So what an interesting and different episode.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us again.
I'm
We
livid
stream
right
live every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 10:30 p.m. Eastern at the Infinite Variety Show YouTube channel. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinite Variety Show. If you want to follow us individually on social media, that information is in the description down below. And we'll see you next week. And again, thanks to Mr. Cameron Bird for calling in and telling us about that spooky, spooky story.
Thank you,
Thank
Cameron Bird.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
See ya.
Have a good night.